This is the Inquisitive Minds Podcast.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Inquisitive Minds Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Smith. With me today, we have a great guy, a friend, a comedian, the nerd you never knew you wanted to know. Welcome to the program, Michael Whatule.
Hey, great to be here, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Mike, it has occurred to me that we have known each other for quite a few years now, yet I have never asked you a lot of details. It's always been, comedy oriented. We've talked about bits, we've talked about show ideas and things of that, but I never even asked you your genesis, so to speak.
Okay.
I didn't even know you had a brother.
Right till recently.
I knew about a year ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Rocky, shout out to him.
Yes.
But I was looking through the bio you sent me, and I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I did not know.
Even I forget that I started so long ago.
Yeah. Well, when did you start, Mike?
I started in 1999, mainly because two reasons. You mentioned Rocky. He's a factor. And because I was going to these parties before everybody was talking about the Y2K, right? And I had all these ideas that I'd be at parties and I'd be telling people about Y2K, and they'd be telling me that their cheeks hurt and that I should do comedy. But I was so I'm basically a down to earth guy. I was like, well, how am I going to do it? How do you get paid? I have other bills, and so I just kind of didn't do it until I was home one day, and my brother Rocky said that him and his friend were going to do comedy. And I thought, well, I'll be damned if he's going to do it before I do it.
Okay.
So I kind of staked out the Funny Bone that used to be down at Station Square. I went there a couple times to see what went on in the open mics. And there was a guy there named Bill Scott, who's an awesome comedian. He continues to make me laugh even on Facebook these days. So as luck would have it, the day I showed up, they were having a sidewalk sale at the Station Square. So for whatever reason, the woman who was taking the names of the comedians to perform for the open mic, because it was very hard to get in. Mm-hmm. There was, not like now, where you can go almost anywhere and do comedy because of the emergence of Facebook.
Sign up, show up, go up.
Correct. And so you might wait 4 weeks before you get back up on stage. So it was pretty rough back then. And there weren't very many movers and shakers like there are now who are self-starters and getting, So I go over to walk up to the desk to the girl who's taking the numbers. And I had tried for weeks to get on the list. And I walked up and she's like, hi, would you like to buy like a T-shirt or whatever? She goes, no. I said, no, I'm actually here to get my name on that list. And she's like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, here, let me go ahead and put your name. So I got my name on.
Okay.
And then the first time I went up, people asked me, they were like, have you done this before? And I was like, no. They said, well, you should definitely continue to do it. And then about 2 weeks later, I didn't tell my family, didn't tell anybody. And then because now I had sort of got my foot in the door, I was worried about Rocky coming along. And
kicking the door in.
And kicking the door in. Because we're two, like he's like a dog, I'm like a cat. That's our personalities. As soon as you come in the door, he's all over you wagging his tail. The guy, you don't know me, you need to know me, right? That kind of guy, where I'm more like, I don't know if I like this guy yet or not, like a cat.
Okay.
So I took him aside and said, listen, this is what, I kind of gave him a little workshop. I said, this is what you need to expect.
It sounds like it was coming out of the comedy closet.
Yeah, it's definitely coming out of the comedy closet for both of us. Because when we first started out, I was all substance and he was all style. And people used to tell us all the time, like, you two would be the perfect comedian, because I wanted to focus on material and he wanted to focus on, other stuff. But as time went on, we kind of both kind of became, what we had hoped to be, envisioned, being better, having better stage presence, more relaxed, all the things that come with doing it, over time.
Real quick before we keep going, I know you do a lot of material that's like Star Wars related.
Yeah.
You a big fan of Star Wars?
I was a very lonely child because I had three brothers that were 4 years older than me.
Oh, I didn't know you had all these brothers.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And Rocky didn't come along till about that time. And so when Star Wars came out, I was just like, as a science fiction fan, it blew your mind away. Like, people don't realize today how much of an impact it was, because before that it was pie plates and a sparkler and it was Flash Gordon, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, you're like, is this really happening? Because the movie was so, like the special effects and everything. And so immediately I was like, I think this is my life now. Like, it was a thing that, and plus when you're 12 years old, because that's how old I was, when you're a 12-year-old boy, people ask you, parents, like, what does Michael like? And so I got inundated with all kind of Star Wars stuff for years. Like, even now, every once in a while, someone will give me something for like a Christmas present, and I love it, no matter what it is.
As a Star Wars fan, I want to ask you, what would you say, or what would you try and convince someone that when they ask about the Star Wars movies, their response is, meh?
Well, I would say a little bit more of what I said earlier, because it was such a groundbreaking change, because people take it for granted now. To go back and watch it and to see the the difference between what just came before it and it, like, because there was that part. But the other part that I'm going to say they're probably women. No, I know a lot of women who love Star Wars. I'm kidding. And I would like to know them, but they don't want to know me.
Wow. Mike, I'm going to be honest. I was expecting more of a nerd rage answer, but you came very sentimental, very vulnerable, and just took the wind out of my fucking sails there. So thank you for that.
Well, I mean, I've dated a lot of people who, like, I have when I date someone, there's like two things that I hope for. One, that they're a really good dancer, and two, that they like Star Wars. And if they don't like one or the other, I'm willing to go, okay, you can't have it all.
Okay.
So I've gotten used to people going, I didn't get it.
So they show up to the cantina doing the twist. You're all in.
Yeah, especially if they're listening to oh God, I can't think of it now. I think it's
Chubby Checker. Or?
Whoever that I can't see. I'm a poor Star Wars person because I can't remember the name of the band that actually. I want to say Nemo, the band that actually recorded the Cantina song.
Oh, okay.
Because they actually used to play it on the radio in the 70s.
Oh, I had no idea.
Miko, I think it was Miko.
I didn't watch Star Wars till I was an adult.
Right.
And they're not bad. I'm not saying anything against them. I just didn't. I probably missed the hype, the fanfare, because it was just 40 years later, 30 years later, or whatever it was.
It looks like everything else you see now.
And then I remember my mom saying that she saw Star Wars in the theater in '78.
Yeah.
And she was extremely disappointed because she went with her cousin and her sister and her uncle. And she went and saw Star Wars with her cousin, and her sister and uncle saw Grease, and she would have much rather saw that.
I also liked Grease, but when
Grease
came out, I went to see it several times too. We had a theater right in the middle of Jeanette, where I grew up, that it was on the decline, and you could go there and watch movies for $1.
Grease was one of those movies I've probably seen over 100 times. My sister would watch it as a comfort movie when we were little.
Okay.
And it would just constantly be in the VCR. Here we go, dating ourselves. Just boom, rewind. Another interesting thing, Mike, I didn't know you were a dancer.
Yes. That's something that kind of, my mom had 5 boys. So, and bless her heart, she kind of hoped for a girl. So I was kind of like the closest thing. So not that only girls know how to dance, but they do tend to be more talented at it.
My arch nemesis Vin Diesel was a dancer.
You know what? I did not know that.
He was a dancer. And I almost said very disparaging words that might have got a lot of people angry at me. But yes, he was a dancer. And I'm still challenging him. You win pieces, Vin Diesel. I got nothing to lose.
There you go. Yeah, actually, when I was a kid, I used to actually do a joke where I was a kid that I was very, very hyperactive when I was a kid, and my parents couldn't afford Ritalin, so they did what any normal
You
American...
don't say you were hyperactive, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have never fucking guessed.
I do have my moments of energy. So they basically, instead of having Ritalin available, they just enrolled me in dance class, like to kind of get rid of all the energy. And I did not enjoy going because I didn't understand that whenever young girls with tap shoes were kicking you in the shins, that meant they liked you.
I didn't get the memo either.
Yeah. So, and that, of course, that's what the teachers told me, probably so I wouldn't quit and they'd lose the money of me coming and going there. But I will tell you this: whenever teachers get a male student in a class, they are elated because they never get to put like a guy and a girl together or whatever. Because most of the time, back then, it was just girls. So the year that I signed up, there was me and another boy. His name was Lenny. They made us get in a star-spangled outfit and dance to "I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy."
Like something like Donnie and Marie Osmond?
Oh, yeah.
That style of outfit?
For sure, yeah. Puffy sleeves. You looked like a miniature Barry Manilow. Like it was quite a spectacle.
So trained in ballet and tap?
Mostly when I was younger, it started off as tap because I think I saw Sammy Davis Jr. on like a show or something, and I started mimicking what he was doing, and that's what got my mom to be like, "Oh, the one," you know. Because my mom and dad were like the ultimate stage door parents. Like I think if we did anything that was worth boasting about, they would. They were. Did you see my you know, they were like that. So showing any amount of talent, they just poured their heart and soul into it, even if you didn't want to do it.
Just from that characteristic, because I don't know your family history, they sound like wonderful parents.
They're well, there's like infrared and ultraviolet. Like over here, you got the parents who they don't care what you do. They're just involved in themselves. And then there's the ones that are living vicariously through you. And they were kind of over here. Like it was great, but I would have liked them to have dialed back just a little bit. But who knows? I might not have, gone the direction I went if it wasn't for them.
My dancing days are over, but young Michael will take us to the promised land. So that you said you didn't enjoy it when you first started, but you look for a woman now when you date someone who dances. So that, I take it, grew on you?
Well, it did. And to be honest, when I was younger, the reason why I didn't like it was because I went to school with the girl whose mother owned the dance school. So it wasn't like something I did in secret and then went to school. So I went to school, and then she broadcast that I was a tap dancer, a jazz dancer, whatever. And I would have much liked to have been like Clark Kent and Superman, like have them separate.
I get that. And I'm sure that was rough to deal with the other boys when you were like...
Oh, yeah, because people just didn't have open minds like they do now.
Well, back in like 1935 when you were doing this, they just weren't... It was different.
Yeah. When I would get out of the Model T and walk into the dance studio, it was always just a harrowing experience.
I remember you telling me you were late to class because your horse had a lame leg.
Exactly, yeah. And then my mom forgot the gun, so we had to go back and get the gun so we could shoot it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. But yeah, so it was one of those things that I'm glad I did at the time. Like all children, at the time you just you don't want to do it. And, but then as you get older, I realized it was kind of because there are some women who like guys who know how to dance.
Oh, absolutely.
Matter of fact, when I scroll through the dating apps now, those are like the three things. It's like dancing, make me laugh. I'm constantly in the woods. Like I don't know if you notice or not, but almost every woman they're either on the water, in the woods. Like I don't even know how they're indoors because according to them they're constantly outside doing stuff.
Piece of shit John time. Back in my looser days, when I wasn't having a family and all that, I was on the dating sites quite a bit, and I remember there's a lot of my kids come first. That's usually not true. God comes first. That's also not true. You are sinning and putting them kids to bed. And I bear witness to that. Living my best life for me, that means to do a lot of drugs.
Okay.
But at the time, that was great. Put them fucking kids to bed. let's pray about this pussy and go to work. Snort this line and do what we got to do here.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I love it. So Mike, tell me about your venture you have out in Jeanette right now.
Okay, well, Rocky, who we mentioned, lives out in California, and from time to time he comes back, and we put together a show. And usually it's like once a year because he does this. He's also a master of Shotokan karate. He has a karate school out there.
Okay, no disrespect to your brother or you, but I see a lot of pictures, and I picked up that he does karate, and I think he's like a weight loss.
He dabbles in I guess it would be what do they call it? Life coaching, weight loss type stuff.
Comedian. It's just when you see pictures without context, sometimes it's pretty hilarious. I always get a kick out of a middle-aged white guy in a full gi. You know what I mean? Like, not saying like they're not capable or anything, but a middle-aged white guy in a gi, I'm like, you know what? That's fucking comedy right there.
Well, yeah, it is kind of comical that you're in your pajamas in public. Yeah.
Now, I won't say that to the face of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, but I just find it entertaining. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Rocky, we would always look for a place to do a show like once a year when he came back for this, because he'd come back for this tournament, and then he'd be here for the show as well.
Oh, it's a martial arts tournament?
Well, yeah, he does the martial arts tournament that week, and then we look for a place to do a comedy show in the evening of that week. So we had done a place in Jeanette the year before, and it was really good turnout and everything, but because of her business growing, it just wasn't beneficial for her to do another show there. And someone said, hey, why don't you talk to Cafe Italiano across the street? And so we just thought we would go in there and do one show. And the next thing I know, he was telling us how he didn't have anything going on in the evenings and that he was open to doing a actual comedy club. So we put our heads together and came up with the name Pagliacci's because Cafe Italiano, and Pagliacci's is the Italian word for clown. So we kind of threw that together, and the next thing I know, we were putting together a really nice place, a really nice room. We built a stage, we put in curtains, we did all this stuff. And
it's a great venue. It's a wonderful
venue. Well, thank you, because we put a lot of heart and soul into it, and there was some growing pains, with getting it, off at first. And now the owner of Cafe Italiano has actually passed the baton to someone else. He's decided to step back and just be the owner of the building. And he has another company, Family Fixings LLC, who are going to come in and do like an Americana menu. And he's interested in continuing the comedy there as well. So we're glad that that's going to continue to happen. So that's where it is right now. We're also looking to do kind of like Pagliacci's pop-ups in the area to maybe do kind of like comedy house calls, because most people, because of worrying about DUIs, when you go out to have fun, comedy you want to drink, and then you don't want to drive really far or be close to home. So it makes more sense for us to go to them than it does for them to go to us, I think, as the world changes. Plus, you're competing with people turning on Netflix and so it's more of an experience than it is the comedy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just nice to get out of the house.
Yeah, and we thought that this area needed it because there wasn't one in Westmoreland County. And when we told people we were doing it, we got a huge outpouring of support. And so we're seeing where it takes us at this point.
In my head, I butcher this name every time. Pagliacci's.
No, you said it right. Yeah.
Okay, because there's been a million times where I didn't.
Right.
I promise you. I've been telling people every type of variation. Pagliacci's, wherever.
No. I do a joke on stage whenever people go, if you wonder why we call it Pagliacci's, it's because anti-disestablishmentarianism comedy club was taken.
Okay.
Like we couldn't think up a harder name for people to try and pronounce.
I would keep forgetting it, and then I would think about that Seinfeld episode because that's the only Pagliacci reference I have.
Right.
And I was like, that's not it, but we're gonna go with that.
That's close enough.
I look it up every time. Mike, I just want to give you a kudos to that because, I performed there a few times.
And everybody loved you because we have those little cards, Yeah, everybody loves you.
Thank you. That's good to know. Performed there a couple weeks ago, and boy, oh boy, great show. wonderful room. Just keep doing what you're doing. Great job.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. That makes it worth it. I really have got to say to anybody who's ever booked me in the past, thank you so much, because I have no idea how hard it is to run a show until you try and do one. And you know, comedians are like herding cats. It's a unique experience trying to manage just a handful of people for one show. So if anybody's listening, if you've ever booked me in the past, I have a new appreciation for what you do. I mean, I always appreciated it and didn't want to do it because I thought that there would be, but once you do it, it's like, wow, it's even more much of an uphill battle than you think.
I've done so many different like little one-off shows that I put together with groups of comedians, just performances here and there, and it's always difficult. There's always a couple people that, running late or can't make it or this happened or that happened. I had one show, and shout out to Paige Belesnik, because I had 3 people drop out of the show, and it was just a little showcase, and with like 3 comedians, I had her headline, and she tore it up. She did amazing. But it's always difficult to get people, and especially it's kind of a little ways out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the good thing is, like, you don't have to worry about losing your hair. Because it really is like, I'm looking in the mirror going, you know. But yeah, it is hard whenever you're trying to put your best effort forth, and you're relying on people.
Let's be honest.
Like, you think you're paying for FedEx, and you're getting the postal service who could care. You know,
a lot of stand-up comedians are inconsistent, finicky is the way I'll put it.
Yeah, like I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. I think
I'll rub everybody the wrong way.
There's a certain type of
I'll
person
rub
that's
all you fuckers up the grain and everything. Who cares?
There's a certain type of person that gravitates to this type of thing, and you have to take the bad with the good, or the good with the bad, however you want to look at it. And everybody's got their own hurdles. I recently realized that I have problems with time blindness. Like, even trying to get here today, I was like, I want to be there an hour early. I show up 10 minutes early. Like, so I feel for people who are trying to get places, which is why I do that thing that people do, like where you set your alarm ahead 15 minutes, or I say, listen, I need you here by here, but I'm asking for this, but I'm hoping, I'm willing to accept this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things that you hope that the show's going to go great, and that's one less thing you have to worry about when you see someone walk through the door, like you said. And down there, I mean, I've taken up the mantle of, seating people, serving drinks if I have to, just whatever it takes to make everybody have a good experience. Because, like I said earlier, that's the only thing that they can really take. Whether the show's good or not, which they are always, they at least I know that they'll have a good experience as a whole. Doing the dinner and the.
Absolutely, you're saying comedians are like wrangling cats. It got me thinking, I didn't realize if I've always had this or I developed it, within the last few years, but I have such high like social anxiety anymore that anytime I'm supposed to do something, I get all worked up. I want to cancel, but I've been forcing myself to do what I need to do, and it works out once I'm there. But it's just the thoughts and like, I'm going to have to go here. It just overwhelms me sometimes. I
totally feel that. I used to have a job where I had to get on an airplane every week, and I'd come back every weekend, and I would have like so much anxiety about thinking I was going to miss the plane, do it, whatever, when I'm on the plane, who am I going to sit next to? Just so much of that stuff. So I do get that, and I do have that same thing. Well, I think everybody goes through that, where I think we all have a seed of self-doubt that it would be great if you could take a pill and it makes that go away.
Yeah.
Some people know what those pills are.
I mean, as long as there's not other side effects.
Right.
That's the issue I worry about. It's interesting because I still have that anxiety, but I don't do things that I don't want to do. Like, I love my job, so it's no problem going to work there. I love doing the podcast, so it's always fun to show up there. I've been filming skits and stuff with friends, like with close comedian friends that I love. I love hanging out with, but every time it's time to go, hour beforehand, I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? Did I shit myself? Can I tell them I shit myself so I don't got to show up? But you know, you get there and it's great.
Right.
And like, it's like a mind fuck. Like, because you're doing this, you're going to enjoy doing this. So why are you getting worked up about it?
Well, I have this thing where when I'm in the house, I like being in the house. When I'm out of the house, I don't want to go back to the house. So just getting out the door sometimes is a huge thing for me. And I've tried as I get older to make it easier to get out the door. And I've been trying to learn more about myself as I get older. Apparently there's this thing called interruption rage. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
Okay, so it's one of those things where you basically, it's on you. You basically fucked around all day and didn't do anything that you were supposed to do. And then you finally get up the gumption to get started on the thing you want to get started. And it's almost like clockwork. The second you get started, someone calls you and wants your attention. And now you're angry because you're angry at them. They had nothing to do with it. If you'd had your shit together and got started when you should have got started, everything would have been fine. But so now that I know that's a thing, when someone calls, I literally look at the phone and go, okay, do I want to answer this now, or can I just let it go to voicemail? But when you're doing a comedy club and people are calling you and asking questions, you got to pick up the phone and go, okay, what's your deal? Okay, yes, you can bring 5 people. We'll have a seat for you. Just all those little kind of little details. But yeah, sometimes it's infuriating. Like sometimes it's Lou Ferrigno type, like or type. Hey, yeah.
Let's update it for the kids. Sometimes it's Mark Ruffalo,
right? I couldn't think of Mark's name. Like I couldn't.
Edward Norton.
Yeah, Edward Norton. If you're
Eric Bana.
Yeah. But yeah, so sometimes you're just like, and sometimes it's just like, okay, it's fine. You can do whatever. But
I've noticed that like I procrastinate because I get anxious about certain tasks, and then I put them off. And when I finally do them, it was the idea of it in my head that was overwhelming, and not the actual task itself.
Right. And I was here's my theory. Here's my thing too. There's always 2 things I want to do, and this is how they usually play out. The thing that I wait the longest to do is the thing that would have been that turns out to be the quickest and the fastest. Mm-hmm. The thing that I get at right away seems like it takes forever. And if I knew before you got started, if you knew, like if there was like a magic app that said, okay, start this one because this one will be done easy, and start this one, my life would be so much easier. App makers.
I know, yeah, I know. Like booking the show, I try and book out as far as I can, a little bit of time. But I know and this is like self-sabotaging. I'll sit down and I'll send out a bunch of messages, start talking to people about their availability and if they want to come on. And then I'll get a bunch of messages back, and I'm like, "Oh, this is too much. Why are all these people messaging?"
Well, yeah,
me
you're hoping that just the one that the one person messages you right back right away.
Yeah.
And I was running that problem whenever what I was doing is that when the show was coming, because we were trying several different payment options. We tried ticket, whatever the big ticketing place is right now. I can't think of their name.
Oh, I know what you mean though. Eventbrite.
Yes, we tried Eventbrite, and we found that every time we sent someone, there was some issue with the landing page. So when we tried to get them to our landing page, it would go to the main page, and then people would be like, "We tried to purchase your tickets," and so I'm like, "Oh God, something else." So what I did find is there's this company called Humanitix, mm-hmm. and they have all the same platform abilities as Eventbrite, maybe even better, but all of the fees they charge, 100% of it goes to charity.
Oh. That's nice.
So I think moving forward, once we beta test it and see if that's a good route, I think that's what we're going to use in the future. Because we tried doing the RSVP and then PayPal, and so that I said that to tell you this. So with all that, then I have to call and confirm that people are coming. So I got to the point where I was copy and pasting text. So honestly, I thought about putting in the text, please don't respond to this text till after 9 p.m. because you're trying to send out texts as more texts are coming in, and you're trying to send it to like 60 people and you're just like, boom, boom, boom. How many people at your party? Please confirm. And it was just the time involved. But there is that part of me that likes challenges too. But once it gets boring, I'm just like, okay, this is monotonous, boring stuff. I'd rather move on to some other challenging thing.
Right now, it like compounds because like like I said, the messages will come in and I'll be like, oh no. And then maybe the baby's crying or the little one's hungry.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what do I do? But it's all stuff I can control. I just get in my own head.
Well, I'm, as you know, unmarried, don't have any children. And
I did not know you were married, Mike.
I'm unmarried.
Oh.
Unmarried.
I was going to say, you're dropping a bomb on
No,
me?
no,
When
no,
did
no.
this happen?
No, it almost happened. I met someone and it was great for like a short period of time. And I really thought we were, and just as fast as it started, it ended just as fast.
Oh.
It was fun. It was a nice thing. I kind of thought it was going to be much longer term, but it just kind of, ran its course, and you got to take the good with the bad. There was something I was going to say about what you just said. Oh, and me, and I'm like, I'm struggling, and I don't have anybody relying on me at all. And my hat goes off to people who have full-blown families.
This episode has been sponsored by Goat Grinder. Right now, go to goatgrinder.com, enter in IM20 to get 20% off your order.
All right, hey everybody. My name's Ron. I'm the owner of Goat Grinder, and this is the Inquisitive Minds podcast. We're sponsoring this forever now. We're going to give Johnny $1 million, so everybody watch this. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so it's grinder, sifter in a mason jar. This is your pressure band, keeps it all together. It's your top grinder, bottom grinder. When you're ready to grind up, slip it on there, give it a snug, throw in, I don't know, whatever you want, and then off center post, so you don't smash everything in the middle, and then all your junk will fall into this handy dandy sifter, and then everything else will fall in here. I use it to make relish. So what happens is when I grind up all you get all your pickle stuff in here, but then you don't have to have a fucking juicy hot dog. You dump out that extra sauce. And they do fit on larger regular mouth mason jars. I would sell them for $75. Someday I'll raise the price, but for now they're $75. I started out at $90, and then I came down. I should have stayed at fucking $90. I don't know why I'm giving everybody a break.
Like how you manage that, doing comedy, doing your regular job, making sure your children grow up right. That is like. That's a hero to me, like someone who does all that.
Piggybacking on top of that, though, I have a partner that I do it with. Like, she's great. I can't imagine a single parent.
Oh, for real? Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Makes me appreciate my mother that much more growing up.
Right. And you were saying earlier about the the online dating and the fact that they're like, my kids are first and all that. And almost everybody that I see, very few are there people that don't have children, and that's something that I have to overcome if that's something that I want in my life in the future.
Well, if you, this is my theory, if you find the right person and they have children, it'll all fall into place.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm trying to be optimistic. I get way more ducks to get in a row before I invite someone into my craziness at this point.
You know what though? I don't buy into that because none of us ever have all our ducks in a row.
I would have to agree with you. Yeah.
I came back. I was, a recovering meth addict, no job, essentially no house, nothing going for me, and I found the woman I'm with who makes me extremely fucking happy right now. I don't know why she picked some fucking loser, didn't have enough teeth to bite an apple, but she did, and I'm thankful for it.
And I think I'm thankful too. You seem very happy.
Mike, I'm thrilled. I'm honestly having one of the best weekends that I can remember in recent time, like in the last few years.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Actually, tonight we're going out to explore Yellow Dog. I think it's like a ghost town near Katanning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're going out to check out that tonight. Do some potential paranormal investigations.
Right.
But
Did she share your love of those things?
Yes. Yeah, I would say she does.
Okay. Well, on any level, it's intriguing.
Yeah.
Because people either go, oh, that's not a thing, or they go, oh, yeah. But on any level, you have to go, okay, I get your interest in it. I kind of see, why you would think that. And I'm kind of like that with the round Earth and the flat Earth people. Like
Oh.
I have,
Mike, you come on here praising flat earthers, you're going to get run the fuck out, buddy. That is the one.
I'm not
That is the
praising
one
them.
group of people.
I'm not praising them.
Like
but-
I'll have anybody on here. I'll suspend disbelief. Like if you tell me that you've investigated the tooth fairy, I'm like, all right, tell me about it. But if you come on here talking about the Earth is flat, you can get the fuck off the edge. Then get going.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. Whenever my brother cuts hair for a living, right? And this is an impression of my brother. What do you mean you're not doing the thing that I just learned about 3 minutes ago? Okay, so he gets all this, he gleans all this knowledge from these people that come in and he's cutting their hair and he has these, the discussions with them.
Barbershop talk.
Yeah, and one day he comes to me and he goes, "Hey, have you heard about this whole flat Earth thing?" And I'm like, what? And so I went down that rabbit hole for a little bit. I was just like, and one thing is more intriguing than the next. And I was like, okay, I don't believe that the Earth is flat, but I can see how someone would see this and go, here's the thing that blows my mind. And I understand everybody goes, gravity. Okay? Everybody says gravity. And when the guy dips the tennis ball in water and then spins it, all the water flies off the tennis ball. And it sends you down this thing going,
I believe that's called centripetal force.
Well, yes, centrifugal force, yes. And so, and then they start to talk about how the Earth is revolving at 1,000 miles an hour. And you're like, but no, gravity's keeping us on. Like, I understand that gravity is keeping us on the ball, but there's that split second. And I don't even do drugs. I can imagine if you were doing drugs and started watching these YouTube videos, it'd be very easy to go, this is blowing my mind, man. Like I could see how someone could start to go, I see this and go down the thing. But
My sister.
But that's what started me like doing it. Like, wait a minute, why? So then I wanted to learn, like, why don't we spin off the tennis? Like, so that's I wanted to go down the. I need to prove this guy wrong because he brought up a valid thing. Like, here's a thing. It spins. Things fly off of it. Why don't we fly off the Earth? And so that's what got me. But of course, I did the full journey, and I'm like, okay, it's unequivocally, we are on a sphere.
My sister Jessica is currently working on her PhD. She's one of the smartest people I know. Love her to death. She saved my life, and in many ways, honestly. And at one point, she called me and started having the same type of, these flat earthers got some interesting things to say, and I thought I was going to have to cut off my baby sister clean and clear. 'Cause I'm not having that. Like, well, we can have stupid, but that level where people were like, look here, it's flat, and you're an idiot for believing it's round. I'm like, no, I'm not even entertaining that.
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing I don't get. That's like I call that like the Christian mentality. Mm-hmm. Because, and I grew up Christian, and my brother also Christian. It's one of those things that, like, I have this knowledge, you don't, you're going to intellectual hell now because you don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, but when it comes to whether you believe flat or not, no one's going anywhere bad if you believe one or the other. Like with Christianity, if someone says,
there's no moral consequences to
yeah,
flat Earth.
And here's the thing, but that happens a lot of times with atheists and with Christians. 9 times out of 10, when a Christian's trying to share their belief with you, it's to save you from what they believe to be the worst ending ever, right? So they're doing it out of love for you.
In theory.
Yeah, in theory, right. But when the atheist is just like, shut the fuck up, you're a moron.
Yeah.
It's just like if they just looked and said, listen, I understand that, what you're saying, it's not for me. But the problem is these people don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
These people don't take no for an answer. And I just wanted to say that. Like, at least the one thing you take away from is when people are doing this, 9 times out of 10, they're doing it because out of love. They're not doing it to make you feel stupid or to make you do whatever. But yeah, with the whole flat Earth, the only other thing that I want to say about the flat Earth situation is the one thing that I get that kind of makes sense is the fact that if you've ever seen the Truman Show.
I have.
Okay, so this is based on the Truman Show, where they created a world where he did not want to go out on the water because if he went out on the water, he would find out that there was an end to his universe.
He had a fear of water, right?
Well, they built it into him somehow.
Like his father drowned.
Yeah, somehow they because he grew from a kid, they did something to make him fear water. So when someone said, well, the way that when they described how the flat Earth would work if there was a flat Earth, they said, think about it. If you had a group of people and you were trying to contain them, what would be the best way to do that? Well, you create an ice wall around them, and you created an uninhabitable place where they wouldn't want to go. 2, if they went there, they wouldn't have food to eat. And 3, why would you want to go there? It's cold. It's a climate you wouldn't want to be there. And I was like, that makes sense. But it only makes sense if you say, hey, Johnny, let's go build another Earth somewhere that's flat. But we don't live on a flat Earth. I'm just saying the theory of how, so I'm not saying people that get pulled into the flat Earth are stupid. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that goes,
I'm not saying they're intelligent.
This jangly keys are shiny, and there's you want to go, why are they so shiny? Why am I so intrigued by this? Because it's something new. Really, we're bored to death.
I mean, that's why I like conspiracies.
Yeah.
That's why I like the paranormal stuff. Whether it's true or not, at this point in my life, I don't even care. I'm fascinated by the stories and experiences people tell. By the way, next week, a return guest, Ed Kellerman, will be back on. Phenomenal paranormal investigator.
Oh, nice.
He's got 2 new books he's writing, and he's going to come in and talk about those. He wrote a bunch of books, but the last episode I think he was on was a book about haunted objects.
Okay.
Very fascinating. Entertaining and little spitfire of a man. Very funny.
Well, cool.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to him. See how I just shifted off the flat Earth?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're done with that. And I'm done with it too. It's all circle all the time.
All circle all the time. I like it. That's what this podcast is all about. All circle all the time. So, Mike, you were in a movie with Ice-T.
Yeah, like a million years ago.
Of all fucking people. Please tell us a little bit about that one.
Okay, so when I was younger, we mentioned dancing. I had an actual agent at one point. And she got me a audition to go and read for part for this movie called Rappin'. I don't even know if you can find it anymore. It was a movie that was put out by a company called, I want to say Canon or Golan Globus, or one of those defunct companies that's not around anymore that was big in the 80s. So I go and I read for this street punk part, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never done it before, no training whatsoever. They just hand me a thing and they're like, here, read this, and I'm just like, blah blah blah, and then afterwards, when I realized what they needed, I was like, oh shit, I wish I would have known what I was showing up here for. Mm-hmm. I had an agent, she wasn't the best. So they go, okay, well listen, we're not going to use it for the part, but if you want, you can be an extra in the movie. So there's this big scene inside this nightclub, and they have all of us packed in there, and I think I was there for a total of 4 days. And they didn't really feed us. They would basically say we're taking a lunch break, and they'd let people go and get food and come back, or some people that were veterans would pack their lunch or whatever. And this movie was fresh off the heels of Ice-T being in. The first movie he was in was Breakin', where he played the DJ. So he's just sitting at the table, and I can't even remember if I knew who he was at the time or if he told me and I figured out afterwards, because there wasn't a moment of starstruck or, oh my God, you're the DJ from Breakin'. And he wasn't the kind of guy to be like, yeah, I was in Breakin', So we were just talking there, and he was such a nice guy. He basically said, as we were sitting there, he was aware of the fact that he was eating and I was not, and he's like, hey, would you like a bite of my Big Mac? Because that's how they fed them. They basically just bought them McDonald's. No huge, no craft services was McDonald's. And I was like, because I'm germaphobe, so I was just like, no, thank you. I don't really want to eat your sandwich.
Learn from Mike here, okay? This is a teachable moment. If Ice-T, the rap icon, the music icon, the actor, the pimp the service veteran offers you a bite of his Big Mac, you take a fucking bite of his Big Mac.
Yeah.
If anybody like Ice-T, anybody offers me a bite of their Big Mac, I'm taking it.
Right.
Because that's an intimacy that I don't know too many people share.
Right. Oh, you know who else was in that movie? Mario Van Peebles.
Okay.
That's the only other big person I can think of that was in it.
Mario Van Peebles, Ice-T, Michael Whatule, star-studded cast.
Yeah, I did have a long conversation with his mother at the time.
Ice-T's mother?
No, it was Mario Van Peebles.
Okay.
And she was telling me, we were talking earlier about, stage door parents. She was obviously a very involved person in him being successful. She was telling me stuff when he was a kid. Like she would let him jump on the couch and wouldn't, how you like try to take the fire out of your kids and
Yeah.
you're like seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Apparently he was seen and heard and everything.
Was their next movie New Jack City? Was that the project after that? Because I know they were also in that together.
That might have been.
Mike, if you would have taken a bite of that Big Mac, you could have been Pookie.
I could have been Pookie.
You could have been Pookie.
Yep.
And they would have been like, Chris who? You would have been slapped by Will Smith.
That's right.
Like your whole life would have been different.
Yeah.
Will Smith would have never slapped you. Rocky would have came out and did a flying knee or some shit.
Yeah. and was that the one where No, that wasn't the one where he did Can I Get One Rib?
No.
He did that
was,
in
that was a Spike Lee movie.
Was it the Spike Lee movie or was it the Coming to America?
No, it wasn't Coming to America.
Oh, because that was, I'm thinking of Coming to America. He was in it, but he wasn't that guy.
Oh God.
It is.
It's a Spike Lee movie, and I hate myself for not having the.
Is it the one with Danny Aiello with the pizza shop?
Yes, I think so.
What the hell's the name of that thing?
Honestly, all his roles run together.
You mean
Danny Aiello?
Yeah.
All his roles run together, and then I get him confused for Bob Haskins sometimes.
Okay.
I don't know what he was or wasn't in at this point.
Right.
Mike, I also didn't know you got a lot more because when you meet people, especially at open mics, and you form relationships there. Well, just piggybacking off the beginning, you don't know what they've done, their credits and everything. And you sent me over a bio, Mike. I had no idea you worked with so many people and performed so many places.
Yeah, there was back in 2005. I was fortunate to have the openness to go on the road and go out, and I got to do something that a lot of people, a lot of older comedians know. It's a thing called a tribble run.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, and you're in a car with a guy that you may or may not know for 2, possibly 3 weeks. And sometimes you drive 8 hours from one show to another, sometimes as much as 14 hours from one show to another.
They sound brutal, but people talk so romantically about them.
Well, yeah, because in those places, they don't have much. This is pre-internet, so there was zero entertainment. When you came into town, they were looking forward to you being there, and they would have shows there every week. So that was their big thing in that town. There was one place that I went in Montana. There were 6 locations in Montana. You would bounce around from Butte to Missoula to this place that was almost Canada. And the place that was almost Canada, the night after that, we had to drive all the way from the tip of Montana to St. Louis Obispo in California. It's on the coast of California. So up to the coast. So we had a 14-hour drive. And on the way there, I get a pinhole in my muffler. Oh. And it's a Saturday night. So we roll in there and we just start, afterwards, we're having drinks, talking to people. We just start talking to people now we got to drive and I got this pinhole in my muffler. And the mayor of this small town was like, hold on one second. He called somebody and said, listen, I need you to go to this address at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow on a Sunday. And this guy meets me there, and it turns out he owns the muffler shop. He fixes the muffler, and I go, hey, great. This would have been horrible. We had to listen to this for 14 hours. And he goes, don't worry about it.
Oh.
Didn't charge me or anything. It came in on a Sunday.
Well, that was very nice.
Yeah. And and just those are the types of people that you met out there. It was just, you know, almost frontier-like, you know, like if I had a wagon wheel, they would have, you know, fixed it up or reshoed my horse. I will tell you this though, when you're out there, one of the things that I just decided to do was you'd always have to have like a, you know, CB radio because phones weren't as great as they were now, and you would
Breaker 19.
right, and I would travel with 2 brand new tires. And I would, for space, I would put them in like contractor bags, and then I'd tuck like my shoes inside the tires, because if you broke down and they'd tow you into their place, they'd be like, "What kind of Acura? What kind of truck is that?" It's like, well, it's not a truck; it's a car.
Yeah.
You're like, well, we don't have your tires. Well, guess what? I do. You're just gonna put one on there.
I was driving, and I didn't last long at this job just because it was miserable for me. But I was doing like a courier service, delivering packages to and from different power plants in the area. I think I was doing like 350 miles a day. But I remember I broke down outside of like New Eagle,
Okay.
and I had a flat. And I was in the middle of nowhere. I tried to change the tire, but it was raining out in the mud. Some guy even came and tried to help me with another jack. But the spare tire underneath was like welded and rusted.
Yes.
So I couldn't get it out. I ended up just walking until I found this random trailer by itself and begged the guy, like, "I'm not going to do anything. Please let me use your cell phone. I'm broke down." He did. I paid the guy for a tire. About 3 days later, I'm driving doing these deliveries. My tire blows the fuck out again because it was a retread. We're on a highway, and literally I can't see anything, you know, in front of me. It's all cornfields. Can't see anything behind me, all cows and everything. And we break down literally 10 feet on the side of the road from a tire shop. Like, that was just there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, what the fuck? But that was a miserable experience.
Yeah, I have a similar one. I was going through Illinois, and I had a cell phone there, and I broke down on, I think, what would have been 70, because 70 runs like that whole thing. So police officer comes up on me and it's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And like, well, I said, "I think I blew the hose on my my radiator." And he's like, "Well, do you want to tow?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, I have all my tools," because I always carried my tools and stuff, and I'm a novice above, you know, automotively. So I go, "Well, listen, actually, if you could just tow me to an auto parts place, I'm pretty sure I can sort this out myself." So I ended up calling ahead to this place. They were going to close in like 10 minutes. And so I just begged them. I was like, "Listen, all I need is this radiator hose for an Acura. If you have it, I'll be there. Could you just wait 5 more minutes? Because I'm on my way back to Pennsylvania." And they were actually very nice. They stayed there, and places like that usually have a problem with you doing work on their whatnots, and they did not. So I was able to just kind of. They left for the day. I put the everything I needed back together and headed on back to Pittsburgh. But if I hadn't been that close to an auto parts place on a Sunday, I'd have been out of luck.
So, Mike, you told me about a potential paranormal experience. You want to get into that a little bit?
Okay. Well, a couple of years ago, I think 2000 or so, my grandmother sold my grandfather's, their home to me. And my grandfather, like my brother and my dad, they all cut hair. And he had a barber shop in his basement of this house. And it was my intention to turn his barber shop that he had put together into an office for myself, because it was no longer being used as a barber shop. And you have to realize, when he was alive, he cut hair at a place we call the Professional Building in Greensburg, and then on the weekends he would cut hair in his home, in his basement, and he created like a waiting room and all this stuff. So it was kind of near and dear to him. So I decide I'm going to dismantle it, take it apart. Now, what I also have to tell you is, when we were kids, you know how parents like threaten you with the belt, or they threaten you with the switch, or everybody has a story about getting hit with a Hot Wheels track, or having to go out and cut a switch off a tree. Well, what my grandfather would do is there was a room underneath the side porch that was called the pump house because they had well water. And that's what this thing did. It pumped the stuff out of the well. And so whenever we were kids, if we were bad, he would say, I'm going to lock you in the pump house. Now, I personally never got locked in the pump house. I want to say that my grandfather did not. It was the threat of being bad and doing that. I don't think any of us, I have to check with my brothers, I don't think any of us ever actually got locked in the pump house. But it was scary in there, and it was like dark and, kind of like a root cellar kind of thing. So when I start tearing through this stuff that would have been my grandfather's pride and joy, I'm taking it out to the garage. I'm coming back. I'm taking it out to the garage. And then when I come back in, out of the corner of my eye, I see the door on the pump house. It moves. And I freeze. And I'm like waiting for. I'm trying not to move because I want to make sure I can tell if it's moving or not. And so I go, okay, no, you just thought that it moved, right? So then I go back to I take the barber chair out. I take everything else out. I come back in, and it moves again. And now I'm like kind of shitting myself because I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? And to add on top of that, I just saw the movie Signs, where the aliens come in and they're like hiding or sticking their fingers underneath, like at the end of the movie where they're sticking their fingers underneath when they're in the pantry. Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, this is either my grandfather or there's an alien in the pump house. So I decided to.
That's a leap, by the way. It's either my grandfather or an alien. Carry on.
So I'm literally like I'm frozen with like all kind of, and it's like 2:00 in the morning because when I start working, I just keep working until I'm done. So it's 2:00 in the morning. I can't call anybody to have my back, right? To be like, you woke me out of sleep 2:00 in the morning to come catch an alien in your pump house. So I switch. So if it is something in there, it could have been anything because I don't want to believe that it might be a ghost, because that's even worse. So I sit on the steps catatonic, and I'm staring at the door. And sure enough, it moves again. And I'm going, what the hell is going on? So since I was working, I'd go over and I grab a shim. And I just like run over to the door and jam the shim into the door to stop the door from moving. And so I wait until daylight so that I can call my brother to be like, dude, I don't know what's going on. This door was moving last night.
We got aliens or we got ghosts, bro. Get the fuck over here.
You got ghosts. Go to the store and get the decon that gets rid of ghosts and aliens.
You got your proton pack still?
So anticlimactically, what it turned out was when we opened the door, we realized there was a huge draft in that room. So what was happening is the wind was making the door move ever so slightly. But if it wasn't the thing that my grandfather threatened us with when I was a kid, I never would have thought that he was actively involved in trying to send me a message that he was unhappy with me tearing apart his Pride and Joy barbershop.
Hey,
and that's the closest I have to something.
I'm gonna say giraffes can be paranormal. Ooh. Two things before we get out of here, Mike. The first one is I always like to ask my guests to give out a piece of advice, and it doesn't have to be anything specific. It doesn't have to be about comedy or any of this. But just a general piece of advice, what would you give to someone?
To just anybody in general, or are we talking?
To anybody in general, just some type of advice for life, whether it be in their performance, in their personal life, just the way you've lived your life, any type of advice that you would give to someone.
Well, I kind of have a motto that I go by, and that is like always be prepared to do today what others won't, so that you might be able to do tomorrow what others can't.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. The other thing is promo yourself. Shout out your socials. Shout out what you got going on.
Oh God, I'm terrible at this part.
Everybody that I've come across in the entertainment industry, as soon as you, like, they'll talk my ear off. As soon as you get to promo yourself, they get imposter syndrome. They're like, I don't know, where am I? Instagram? Oh my God, what's my handle?
Yeah, to be honest, I think the last time we did a show and someone interviewed me, I said I have this really cool thing. It's Whatule .xyz. So excuse me, it's Michael W. .xyz. Because they were giving away, or they were selling XYZs as opposed to comms.
Okay.
And so I bought it because I thought it was cool because it's Michael W. .xyz. So WXYZ is the end. But I have done nothing with it because I have perfectionist syndrome. I wait to do everything perfect, and I don't do anything at all. So I've not even built a website. But nowadays with Facebook, you really don't have to do
Mike,
much.
are you on social media?
That's it.
Tell them your social medias. Facebook, Michael Whatule, Instagram.
Yeah, Michael Whatule on Facebook.
Okay.
And
shout out the Comedy Club again.
Well, yeah, you can go to pagcomclub.com to check out stuff that we've done and we're hoping to do here in the future once we get our
pagcomclub.com.
Yeah, so it's Paglotti's Comedy Club. So
that sounds like an old fetish website.
.com, yeah. And
Michael W stands for Michael Whips and Chains.
If only.
Hey, you can dream to be whatever you want, brother.
If only. Yeah, and then this actually is very telling because I used to build my own websites, and I just I don't know. I think technology. I'm just getting. It's just so easy to just go to Facebook, find it. It's almost like overkill to vomit all that stuff out because no one writes it down, and it's just like my last name is. This is the best part. If you want my last name, you probably see it up there. People always ask me, like, when I say it, Michael Whatule, they go, Michael O'Toole. And I'm like, no, it's like O'Toole with a what? It's WHAT, like, what are you saying? And then ULE. And
Mike, I don't know if I've made a mistake or just I haven't got enough traction, but I named it Inquisitive Minds and spelled it that way for branding. You know what I mean? To be unique. But people don't look that up. They look up the regular way to spell it, and I try and, like, spit it out so many times. It gets a little frustrating, but it is what it is. We live and you learn. But thanks for coming in today, Mike.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, for sure.
Yeah, absolute blast out here, guys. Make sure you check him out. He's doing a lot of great stuff. Wonderful guy, obviously. Very entertaining. And until next time, thank you.
This is
Thank you.
the Inquisitive Minds Podcast.